Hey everybody, Norm from Tested here, and no need to introduce this guy, Frank Ippolito. Frank, how you doing?
Pretty good, Norm.
Pretty good, of course, pretty good, because Frank and his company Thingergy at E3 just delivered 6 of these giant statues for Borderlands 3.
I'm so excited about this game, I love it.
So you've been working on this for how many months now?
This is about a 10 or 11 week project.
I know you've been like feeding me a little bit info, seen it on social media,
Yep.
but really seeing these in person, these are incredible. These are 1.5
1.5 scale
representations of the game characters.
Yep.
And you know, I look at statues, we've seen statues at other events. I know you like to have fun with like mixed media. It's not just mixed media, it's mixed process.
Yes,
right?
This is literally every process that we've like accumulated over the years all into these statues. There's 3D printing, there's milling of forms, there's hand fabrication, there's machining, there's all the fabric stuff, foam fabrication, like it's literally everything.
Well, I want to start from inside out.
Yes.
Okay. So these are pose characters.
Yeah.
2K gave you the poses, the look. You have these high resolution assets. And so underneath all of this, I presume is an armature.
Yeah, so we start with the form and we design what the aluminum armature would be inside of it and how it's going to come apart, because all these things have to be transportable too. And some of these are a little bit trickier, like Amara over there, she's in such a crazy position. We tried to like run the numbers and do the calculations to make it, but it still came down to, at the last minute, we had to fabricate it to be more robust, because it's just, you don't get the same thing when you're trying to do it in the computer.
So when you're saying do the numbers, you're actually doing some calculation on center of gravity, weight distribution, the strength of materials.
Try to, but sometimes the material deflection just is what it is. You know,
Right.
you cantilever a giant gun out there, it's going to deflect the metal.
It makes me think of like when I buy like posable, collectible statues, and they have crazy poses. They all have wires underneath, except this is even bigger, and so a little bit of movement can be a lot. And
it's huge, yeah, especially like on this gun and on that gun, like you just touch the tip and it just kind of gives a little bounce.
Wow, so you figure out the strength, the core of it.
Yeah.
Now building on top of that, you're making bodies.
Yeah, so we CNC'd out foam bodies, which are basically like mannequin forms. Those serve 2 purposes. One, so that all of the cloth fabricators can use it as a mannequin to pattern the clothes. And then another one, so that when the ones have skin, we could sculpt on top of it, and we have all of the flesh parts on proportion.
We've previously worked with you to work on your giant, you know, your AvidCNC big 3-axis, you know, 4x8 thick sheets of foam. And you're basically kind of sandwiching like an arm. You like
stack stuff up.
Stack stuff up.
You figure out how to slice it so that it makes sense to fit on the mill, and that's it.
And you're kind of layering and building something that you can sculpt on.
Yes.
So real sculpting comes into play.
Yes.
And sculpting, you make molds?
Yeah, we sculpt it out of clay, make a fiberglass mold, and then we put silicone inside of it, cast it in silicone, paint it, make the eyes, everything.
So something like a character, how many different molds are you making for the body form?
It was not a ton of molds on this project, only the stuff that you're going to see that's flesh, and a couple of parts that get repeated are molded. Like compared to other projects, like it's really not that many molds. A lot of the stuff was built as a one-off.
And the molds isn't necessarily for repeatability, because you can mill, like you said, multiple body forms for things like experimental cutting. So the molds are so you can get the silicone on top, because you're not 3D printing silicone.
No.
So 3D printing also comes into play for the other fabrication parts.
Well, a lot of the gun parts, a lot of the hard surface stuff was 3D printed. Or when we sculpted the hands, we would 3D print the hand form and then sculpt the fingers where you see, like on her, where you see the glove. We only sculpted where you see the fingers.
And of course, like something like this,
black is all robot, so that's all printed and milled.
And milled, like this is real wood.
This is real wood, so we got that and we kind of hand carved that down. The scope, that's real brass. I kind of went a little nuts here and there, and I said, let's just make that scope out of brass. I think it'll look pretty. You know, so we're using a little bit of every technique, and it makes it more fun for us to build. You know, I have a really amazing team of fabricators, and yeah, you could just throw everything on the printer and sand it forever, but why not give them something fun to machine, and you know.
And also like foam, right? Foam fabrication comes into it. A lot of the accessories are like other prop makers we know. There are
Exactly.
Building foam and then kind of covering with fake leather and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's really no techniques in here that's anything foreign to what anybody else does. It's just putting it together and picking and choosing which ones you want to use.
And at that scale.
The scale makes it tricky. You know, patterning in clothes for like me and you pattern one side and then you mirror it.
Yep.
But because these guys are all in crazy positions, they had to pattern the full garment both sides because they were asymmetrical a lot of times.
And so something like this jacket,
yeah.
It's like a real jacket. These are real seams.
This is real leather. Everything is as real as it could be. Like, I wanted to make something like, if it's metal, let's try and make it metal. If it's fabric, let's make it fabric. Let's do the best we can.
And then you're like something like this. You know, the zipper pulls, you're fabricating, that's foam, but the actual zippers you're sourcing, you're looking for, where can you find?
We found these giant oversized zippers for his things that are like 1.5 scale zippers.
Oh my God. And that lets it read under like a beautiful convention light, like this beautiful sculpture, right? There's beautiful painting on, I noticed like iridescence on some of the skin, the eyes look really cool. You have electronics as well?
Literally everything, some of these things light up. Flax eyeball lights up. You can't really see it in this light, but some of their accessories light up,
That is ridiculous. Where do these things go afterward?
There's a couple of things that they're bouncing around on where they're going to go. I think the Calypso twins are going to end up going to Gamescom in Germany, and then these 4 are going to bounce around here in the States a little bit. I don't know what's locked in, in the books yet, but there's a lot of stuff floating around on where these things are going to go. So
wherever I imagine Borderlands 3 is being promoted, these will be there because people, I think, really should see this in person. You know, we've gone to conventions from Comic-Con to E3, and we always take a look at what's being fabricated. It's always cool to kind of dissect the mind of a fabricator.
I love
when
it.
They
going to a place like this and seeing everybody else's artwork, and it's like, oh, how would I build that?
Right.
And that's exciting for me. So I hope that somebody else is excited about this stuff.
Yeah, we just met up with Harrison from Bullpen, and he was asking you questions about it. And hopefully you out there, if you're interested in games, interested in prop making, get a chance to see this, because this is really beautiful stuff that holds up real close and afar. Congratulations, Frank. Well done.
Man. Thank you.
This.
It's a great team effort.
Awesome. And more information on all the stuff on your website. Just follow you on Instagram.
Social media.
Follow Thingergy, and I'll hopefully see you at the next big project.
Cool.